All right, so I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Vallecitos Water District for May 20th, 2026. Before we begin, I'd like to announce that members of the public may watch the meeting live online by visiting the district's website and clicking the Watch Live icon. However, they will not be able to participate in the meeting remotely. KEIRA, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Loud.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Directors, please indicate your attendance. Okay, everybody's here. Do we have any additions to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
May I have a motion to adopt the agenda for the regular meeting today, May 20th, 2026?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Director Ellitharp, second by Director Brown. Please vote. Motion passes. Public comment. Do we have any public speakers today?
I've not received any requests to speak yet.
Okay, moving on to the fun stuff. Announcement of the 2026 Vallecitos Water District Scholarship winners. Chris, take it away.
Yeah, so...
Sorry,
it's
General
okay.
Manager, take it away.
So I will be handing it right over to Chris, but this is actually one of my favorite meetings. It's also very nice to see our boardroom almost full, especially for a happy occasion. So with that, I will hand it right over to Chris.
Thank you, General Manager. Good evening, President KERSCHBAUM and board members. This year, the Vallecitos Water District Scholarship Program received a total of 27 applications from students in our service area. Notably, 18 of those applications came from students at Mission Hills High School, reflecting an outstanding level of participation and engagement. I would like to thank Karen Schutze. She was going to be here but wasn't feeling so good today. She is the guidance technician at Mission Hills High School, and she bird dogs students, and for her, she made the efforts to promote the scholarship program, and her support played a significant role in encouraging the participation we got and connecting students with this opportunity. This evening, we are proud to recognize 6 scholarship students, and their accomplishments, goals, and commitment to education stood out among a very competitive group of applicants. And finally, I'd like to thank the P3 committee, Director Brown and Director Pennock for the thorough review of all 27 of these applications. Jacob Sheba, who's our Water and Wastewater Technology Program Coordinator at Palomar College, is typically here to say a few words. He got caught up in another engagement. And so in the spirit of the evening and what I plan to present to you tonight, I'm going to proceed like this. So now batting for Jacob Sheba, Kirsten Perano.
Alrighty, so I will be reading this statement on behalf of Professor Sheba. Congratulations to all of this year's scholarship recipients. Be proud of yourselves for this achievement and knowing that you will all make an impact on the future of water. To the Board of Directors and staff at Vallecitos, thank you for your continued partnership and support for Palomar's Water Technology Program. Together, we are helping to foster the next generation of the water workforce and ensuring we can continue to serve our communities for future generations.
Thank you, Kirsten. Thanks for filling in on that. So, board members, in the spirit of tonight, I am your PR guy, but I always wanted to be a PA guy. So let me introduce our starting scholarship line-off. Leading off for the Vallecitos Scholarship, setting the table, Palomar student and successful intern with Vallecitos during the fall 2025 semester and currently working as the outreach specialist for the Water and Wastewater Technology Program at Palomar College. Give it up for Carly Gresham.
Hi.
You can move it.
Hi, Carly.
Hi, nice to see everyone. I'm so glad to be here. I want to thank the whole board of directors for thinking of considering me and awarding me this scholarship. And I want to thank all of the opportunities that I got in the internship. And I'm so happy to be a part of this whole program. So thank you.
Congratulations, Carly. So, wait, Carly, real quick before you sit down. So,
yeah.
so the
Back
selection
up.
committee, I wasn't on the selection committee, but I did get to review all of the applications that the committee selected, and I just wanted to say that you're an outstanding recipient of this scholarship. You're an intern here, you're a water technology student, a community volunteer, you're basically already a water professional. So we're so excited to support your continued education in the wastewater field with this scholarship. And we wish you continued success in your career. You're an inspiration for other students considering a career in the water and wastewater industry. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Second in your lineup is a three-sport star, an honor student, ASB leader, and varsity captain, ready to help shape the future of California infrastructure, planning to attend San Diego State University from San Marcos High School, Carson Hackett.
Hi everyone, my name is Carson, and I want to start off by thanking everyone on the board for their consideration of me on this scholarship. It definitely will be a huge support and a big aid during my time at San Diego State because I paid for a lot of my college on my own. So this scholarship will be a huge help with paying for things like housing, my education, my meal plans, which is all pretty expensive at San Diego State. So I definitely want to thank you all, and I also want to thank my mom who's here for supporting me through high school and helping me to become the person I am today. So thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, Carson. Great shout out to the mom. I love that.
And go Aztecs.
Okay.
Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs. You're an amazing student. Your application was incredible with everything you've done in high school, the athletics, and your leadership positions. Given your interest in water resources and serving your community, we are so thrilled to support your education with this scholarship. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Batting third for Vallecitos, a leader, avid student, bilingual scholar, and community volunteer with the vision, resilience, and leadership to help shape tomorrow's projects and communities. Also planning to attend San Diego State University from Mission Hills High School, ASHELY PEREZ.
Hi, good evening, board. I would love to thank you guys all for considering me as for receiving the scholarship, and I'm so thankful for everybody. I'm so also really happy and sorry. I'm so glad for this opportunity that I have for you guys. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ashley. So I personally loved reading your essay and hearing about your first experience at the campus at
Yes.
San Diego State. That was so inspiring, and right then, as a high school freshman, you knew that was where you wanted to go. At the same time, your dedication to your family and your community really shines through, and you're exactly the kind of student that we want to support. So congratulations.
Thank you.
In the cleanup spot, working to keep the campus clean at Mission Hills High School and planning to attend UC Irvine and get a degree in environmental science from San Marcos High School, student athlete, runner, and dancer, KLIMA.
Hi, KEIRA.
Hello.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you want me to go first and just tell you what we?
She's got a whole write-up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
First, I want to thank the Vallecitos Water District for awarding me this scholarship. It is truly such an honor, and I am incredibly thankful for your generosity and support. Receiving this scholarship means so much to me, not only because it helps support my education, but because it comes from an organization whose work impacts every single person in our community every day. Water is one of the most essential resources on our planet. It supports our health, our environment, our agriculture, and our future. Your work has inspired me as I continue my own educational journey. I will be attending UC Irvine to study environmental and earth system science. I am passionate about learning more about our planet, sustainability, and the environmental challenges we face today. This scholarship will help me achieve these goals as I continue working toward a future where I can make a positive impact on the environment and our community. I am so thankful to the Vallecitos Water District for investing in students like me and encouraging the next generation to care for our world and its resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. So I just want to say that I was so impressed just to see what you've already done to give back to your community and to make the environment better. It's so impressive. That's really the mark of a true leader. And at Vallecitos, we're so thrilled to support your journey. Sounds like maybe we've sparked an interest in water and wastewater. I hope that that continues with you as you study environmental science. We really believe you can make a positive impact in our industry, and we wish you all the best. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Up fifth, keeping the rally going, this future innovator has already launched businesses, tutored fellow students, and explored the frontiers of AI and cybersecurity. Planning to attend UCLA from Mission Hills High School, Tanner Rankin.
I just want to say thank you so much for having me here today, and thank you to the board for considering me for this scholarship. As we know, college is super expensive, and so I'm so thankful to be awarded this scholarship, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything and awarding me this scholarship.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations. First of all, go Bruins. Congratulations. What you have been able to accomplish just in 4 years of high school is really impressive, and you stood out to us. You're so deserving of this scholarship. And really what stood out to us the most was just your dedication to giving back and serving your community, and that is so inspiring to us here. So we have faith that you'll continue your commitment to serve the community, and we're so happy to support you, and we hope to see you back sometime and let us know how things are going. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And last, but certainly not least, a student whose internship experience here at Vallecitos, along with his D2 and T2 certifications, make him a future water professional committed to protecting one of our region's most valuable resources. Our very own intern from Palomar College, Charles ZHOU.
So I'd like to begin first by thanking my family and my parents for supporting me, as well as all my teachers at Palomar College and the Water Tech program there. And last but not least, Vallecitos Water District and the board for all their support and their investment in my future. I'm really grateful that with this internship it can help me with my further education at Palomar College and my further pursuit for more water-related professional certifications.
Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you, Charles. So one thing that Chris didn't mention is that you already have 1 degree in applied mathematics from San Diego State, and you're so passionate about water and wastewater that you came back to get your certificates. I think that that degree is just only going to make you a better water and wastewater operator, and you just will have so much more of an understanding. So I think it's so amazing that you've done those 2 things. You have an analytical mind, and you've done a great job here as an intern. So we're so excited to support you, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, board members, I'd like to get a picture with all of the students, 6 students and 5 board members. So the student on the outside, and then 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and we'll get a few pictures. And parents, you are welcome to take pictures as well. Maybe tall in the middle. Would you please scoot back? The lighting comes down on it and it makes for an unhappy photo. So
You need to get up to. You're gonna have to get.
yeah, and so we're gonna want a board member and then a student, a board member and then a student. So I'm not gonna actually direct it. I'm gonna let you guys figure it out. Board member, student, board member, student, board member, student, right? No, we got enough room, right?
You're the.
Yeah, so we got to squeeze. Yeah, okay, let's get that in the middle. Come on in.
Jim gets the check.
And, how am I not? Oh, it's got to be a student on the outside, right? Okay, so KEIRA all the way on the other side, right? Everybody scoochy. Okay, and then everybody scoochy, scoochy, scoochy. You get it?
Turn sideways. Turn sideways.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at any camera, guys.
Parents, any parents want to get up closer?
Congratulations.
Parents, students, okay for me to post that picture right there? Yeah. Social media, right? Contest winners? Okay.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, students, parents, you're welcome to stay. We have urban water management plan to approve, we have budget to approve, but you're also free to go out, have a nice dinner and celebrate. Maybe the youth family. They got a little cash there. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Congratulations.
Thank you. Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing? But before you leave, just, it was fun, Director Brown and I were on the review committee, and you weren't just like, we had to try and find 6 recipients. There was 27 really, really good applications. So you guys are like the cream of the crop. And just to let you know, what set you apart was not any one big thing. I mean, you wrote, it was just all the little things. You did a great essay, you had a great application, all those little things you've been doing for the last 4 years, from freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, all those little things, just getting up in the morning, all those little things added up. So that's what we noticed, is just thank you for doing all those little things and keep doing all those little things. Get up in the morning, even when you're in college, you got a 7 a.m. class, get up in the morning and go to class. So continue to do all those little things. They add up to a big $2,000 check plus. So thank you. You guys really deserve it. It was very enjoyable to listen and to watch all your, and to just review all of your applications and essays. So great, great job.
Yes,
Well
we
said.
have sometimes we have long agendas to read. They're 100 pages or something. This was the most favorite activity to read, were all your applications. It just warms my heart to be able to do this. We wish we could have given out 27 scholarships, but thank you for what you've done and what you're gonna do. So I feel great about it, and congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations. Another round of applause. Thanks, Chris, for the good awesome, fun
You got a
introduction,
job down at
too.
Petco Park.
Do I just stick with that?
Give Chris
That's
one of
pretty
these.
good.
Give him a popper.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, moving on to consent calendar. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
So moved?
Second.
Okay, motion by Director Pennick, second by Director Hernandez. Please vote.
And now announcing at Petco Park, Chris Robbins.
we have a public hearing item. Public hearing to hear comments on the 2025, so the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan or the 2026?
2025.
Okay.
Yes, so before we open the public hearing, I'd like to note the hearing for the purpose of this hearing is to receive comments for the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan. The public hearing will be conducted in the following manner. Staff will first provide a presentation. After the presentation, the board president will open the public hearing for public comments. Any speaker will have 3 minutes to provide comments. To ensure an orderly discussion, questions will not be answered during the hearing itself. Staff will address those questions after the public hearing is closed. Next, we'll have a presentation by a Director of Engineering and our consultant, and I'll let you introduce.
Stuff opening.
Oh, sorry about that. I was trying to stall. I should have looked up. So, Rosalind, we want to introduce Rosalind?
Yes. Co-presenting with me this evening is Rosalind Prickett with RANKIN and Associates, and she helped the district prepare the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan, so she helped with a lot of number crunching and writing and did all the heavy lifting.
And Rosalind, we got the balloons for you. I should have asked if you like gold. I forgot, so.
Okay. Well, good evening, President KERSCHBAUM and members of the board. This item this evening is the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan public hearing for public comment. After that, for your consideration this evening is adoption of the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan. In this presentation, we'll go over the schedule overview, Urban Water Management Plan Act requirements, the district's water, wastewater, and recycled water service areas, water demands and conservation, water supply portfolio, water supply availability, drought risk assessment, water shortage contingency plan, and the timeline to adopt the Urban Water Management Plan. Schedule overview. In November of 2026, the board approved a professional services agreement to hire RANKIN consultants to help us prepare the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan. Through 2025, we started developing the supply and demand forecasting in December, and we submitted our demand forecast to the Water Authority in March of 2026. March of 2025. In December of 2025, Department of Water Resources released the Urban Water Management Plan Guidebook, and after that, from January of March, we were busy developing the draft Urban Water Management Plan, which was out for public review in April. At April 28th, Engineering and Equipment Committee, we made a similar presentation, and we gained Engineering and Equipment Committee support to bring the item to public hearing and to consider adoption this evening. And our deadline to submit the Urban Water Management Plan to the Department of Water Resources is July 1st of this year. And preparing, adopting, and submitting the Urban Water Management Plan to DWR by July 1st allows the district to maintain eligibility for state and grant loans. With that, I'll hand it over to Rosalind.
Good evening, board and staff. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Rosalind Prickett. I'm a principal and a water resources planner with RANKIN Consultants. So DWR has required water agencies to prepare urban water management plans since 1984 with the Urban Water Management Plan Act. Essentially, it says any water supplier that has more than 3,000 connections or 3,000 acre feet of water served to its customers must prepare this urban water management plan. And it includes demand and supply information related to the water agency's service area. The plans are due on July 1st, the year after the 0 and the 5. So it's called our 2025 Urban Water Management Plan because all of the data that we're presenting is through the end of 2025. The core requirements of the Urban Water Management Plan, they start with the description of our service area with maps. Then we present historical, current, and future water use within the area. Then we match that with supply, where our supply is coming from to serve that demand. There are a couple of specific regulatory items, the SBX 77 compliance, which I'll get into on another slide. Then we present our water conservation programs, because that is one way that we help manage demands so that we can make sure that our supplies and demands are balanced. So we talk about our conservation programs. They're called demand management measures in an urban water management plan. We have a water shortage contingency plan, which lays out how we'll respond to any water shortages. And then we include some analysis, which Elizabeth was mentioning, that is our sort of drought risk analysis. What happens if our supplies are constrained for a number of years in a row, and how are we going to respond to that? Oop. Okay, thank you. So our water service area is shown on the map here. One of the things that DWR requests that we do is acknowledge where are our annexation areas, where has our water service area changed over the course of the last 5 years, to ensure that we are considering the demands within those annexation areas in our demand forecast that we prepare and update at each 5-year cycle. So the district provides potable water services to 23,200 connections over 43 square miles. Shown here, the little purple cells are those annexation areas. Of course, you know, majority of your land use is single-family residential, but there is a mix of all different types of land uses throughout, so we've considered the water use in each of those different land use types. Our population forecast is forecast to increase from 100,000 people in 2025 to 121,000 people in 2050. So we've accounted for the water use by that increased population. The service area has 370 miles of distribution pipeline, 11 pumping stations, 19 storage reservoirs. Our wastewater and recycled water service area, as you know, provides sewer services to 21,125 connections over 23 square miles, slightly smaller service area than the potable water service area. Our recycled water service includes, of course, the Meadowlark Water Reclamation Facility, that's our treatment plant, 286 miles of collection pipeline for our sewer, wastewater, and 4 lift stations. We, the district, does not provide retail recycled water services to any individual customers, but rather sells the water from Meadowlark Water Reclamation Plant to Carlsbad Municipal Water District and Alevenheim Municipal Water District. We've accounted for those sales in our forecasts. So this graph essentially shows the distribution of total water use by customer type. So you can see here in the yellows and the oranges are our various residential types. The greens are our irrigation and agricultural supplies. The red is our commercial, industrial, institutional, and the blue is sort of other water that we must account for as we're developing our forecast. So you can see a majority of the land uses are single-family residential, and majority of the water use is also in that category. We have used the SANDAG growth forecast. San Diego Association of Governments develops a forecast alongside the regional transportation plan. That's our regional planning entity. So we have taken the growth forecast anticipated for your service area, and that is the future development that we're accounting for. But in addition to that, we also worked with the city of San Marcos to make sure that we are accounting for all of the future development plans that have been submitted related to student housing. And then we also looked at accessory dwelling units, and that is sort of an increasing trend within the region, is the addition of accessory dwelling units to properties. So we did an analysis of, what's the trend? How many of those are going to happen per year to make sure that we're accounting for the demands associated with those. Other drivers for demand include the various water conservation programs that you already have in place. So on the lower left here in demand management, we have developed a forecast for how much water we think the community here is going to conserve over time. So we've looked at passive conservation. This is things like, as folks remodel their bathrooms, they put in new toilets, those are subject to a more strict plumbing code and use less water. So there's just going to be a natural reduction in water use, in indoor water use over time. We've also accounted for active conservation programs, so things like the turf conversions that the district promotes, the various rebate programs that the district promotes. So we've accounted for all of those things in the demand forecast. So this graph, or this map, shows our water supply portfolio or the layout of the San Diego County Water Authority aqueducts there and the turnouts. Imported water is the majority of the potable water supply that the district uses, as you know. Along with the water purchase agreement that Vallecitos has with the Claude Bud Lewis Carlsbad desalination plant, that's 3,500 acre feet, specifically allocated to the district. And then the Olivenhain Vallecitos water purchase agreement, which is another 2,750 of potable water. It's originally sourced from the Water Authority, but it's treated at the McCollum Water Treatment Plant. So we've accounted for all of those supply sources in the forecasts. This is the forecast of demand and supply in the format that DWR requests. So they ask us to look at, in each 5-year increment, you can see here 2030 all the way out to 2050, what do you think the demands will be? That's the next to bottom line there, the 16,294 up to 17,658. So that's what we think our demands are going to be based on all of those SANDAG growth projections, plus the ADUs, plus the student housing. That's how much water we think our community will consume. The top lines are how we are going to essentially fill those buckets. So, of course, we've got our 3,500 in desalinated water. That's our first drop of water. And any additional supply we need above and beyond that, we purchase either through Olivenhain or directly through the Water Authority. So you can see that number changes over time as our demands increase over time. On the bottom of the slide is some information about our SBX 77 water use targets. So this was a Senate bill that essentially required agencies to reduce water use by 20% by year 2020. And largely across the entire state of California, agencies did that. This bill was passed, I think, during the 2012 to 2016 drought, and we all just need to conserve. We need to use less water. In the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan, the district set a target of essentially 159 gallons per capita per day. That's what we think is a reasonable target for our district to achieve. 2020 water use came in at about 125, and 2025 water use, based on our current population, is 117 gallons per capita per day. So we're easily meeting our SBX 77 target. The compliance piece in the Urban Water Management Plan is a page or two. It's, hey, we're good, thumbs up, and we moved on. So our water shortage contingency plan is essentially a standalone document. It's an appendix to the Urban Water Management Plan, and it lays out how we intend to respond to foreseeable and unforeseeable water shortages. So things like, how is the district going to communicate about water shortages? What are we going to do in terms of compliance and enforcement? What are the legal authorities for the district to take action? The core components of that water shortage contingency plan. We have coordinated regionally, so the Water Authority and all member agencies use the 6 standard shortage stages. We're all in coordination, so if the Water Authority announces that we are in stage 2, for example, everyone in the region essentially, has the same shortage levels. Each shortage level has a specific set of shortage response actions, and then again, communication protocols, compliance and enforcement, and monitoring and reporting. So the drought risk assessment is the funnest part of preparing an urban water management plan. This is where we look at your normal year demands and we say, okay, what happens if there are multiple dry years? If we encounter a drought, how are we going to handle and respond to that from a supply perspective? The first thing we do is we look at our supply sources. So the first source is, of course, our Water Authority supply. We did, as Elizabeth mentioned, we coordinated directly with the Water Authority from back in March of 2025 on the demands, as well as their ability to serve the demands of all of their member agencies. What the Water Authority is reporting in their 2025 Urban Water Management Plan is that essentially they don't need to purchase any water from Metropolitan during normal year conditions. And in dry year conditions, they would assume allocation based on preferential rights for Metropolitan. So the Water Authority has preferential rights and will receive a portion of Met supplies. And then it also assumes that Colorado River supplies are reliable because they're in accordance with the quantification settlement agreement. That's what allocated the water that the Water Authority imports through the Met Aqueduct into San Diego County. So the Water Authority's analysis shows with the stabilization and even decline in water demands regionally, there's plenty of water. We are reliable and we can serve even slightly increased dry year demands. And then our second source, of course, is our desal water, and that is drought resilient because that is ocean water. So here is the analysis of our drought risk assessment. Next slide. You can see here that we have projected out year 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are those bars. So we're taking our normal year demands and we're looking at how do we think those demands are going to change during drought conditions. So we took a look at drought response. We took your water use data. We compared that to precipitation levels across the historical record. And there is a demand response that happens during hot and dry conditions within the district service area. That was about a 9% increase in that first year. So as it gets hotter and drier, irrigation demands go up and overall demands go up. So we've shown here an increase in demands forecasted from about 9% in year 1 to 16% in year 5. But in contrast, we're also assuming demand reduction because you're going to implement your water shortage contingency plan. Or frankly, there'll be media attention to the fact that there's a statewide drought and people will voluntarily conserve. You don't even have to implement your water shortage contingency plan, at least in year 2 generally. So you see here, we assume that there won't be implementation of the water shortage contingency plan in year 1. You know, we'll sort of let it ride, see what happens. And then in years 2, 3, and 4, there's an increase of about 3% per year. So you can see that's the hatched area. So while demand response goes up, the water shortage contingency plan brings that demand back down. And of course, as we concluded from looking at the reliability of our sources, all demands will be met in all scenarios with Water Authority purchases. Back to you.
Thank you. I also wanted to mention the draft urban water management plan has been posted on our website through the whole month of April, and we have not received any public comments. We did put our staff's contact information, and no one submitted any questions or comments there either. So with that, the timeline to adopt the urban water management plan, this evening is the public hearing. We advertised in the Coast News, the public hearing for tonight, that was advertised on May 6th and 13th. And the deadline to submit to DWR is July 1st. I also wanted to mention the photo on this slide. A couple weeks ago, I was driving into work and there was a hawk drinking from the water fountain up front in our front garden. So I wanted to mention that even local hawks appreciate reliable water supply. Oh, driving too.
Does that conclude staff presentation?
That does.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to ask for a motion and a second to proceed with opening the public hearing.
Move to approve.
A second.
Okay, a motion by Director Pennick, second by Director Brown. Please vote. Motion passes. The public hearing is now open. Based on no comments at all so far, I'm guessing we don't have any public speakers? Okay. So if there's no one from the public wishing to address the board, I will now close the public hearing. Okay. And now it's our opportunity as the board to ask any questions to staff for the presentation. So is there any questions on the presentation?
I just have a question about, once this is completed and submitted, how do people access it if they have questions and it becomes a public document, right? And
Yes.
And then are then guideline for the next 5 years?
Yeah, so once we have a final version submitted, it will be posted on our website, and it will stay there until we adopt the next urban water management plan. Currently, on the district's website, we have our 2020 urban water management plan.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. You have a question?
So I just want to, I'm impressed with the presentation. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Do you live in our service area?
I do not.
No, but I was just impressed because have you been working on this? How long have you been working on this?
Since early 2025.
Yeah, it was refreshing to hear that you were using the word our, and it's not like your. And so you were just, it's almost like you were adopted in and you took ownership of it, and I thank you
You
for
have
that.
an amazing team here. It was
We
really fun
do.
to work with them.
Well, and it sounds like
Thank
you're
you.
amazing and they are amazing, but just how you use that, you didn't say the district, you didn't say you guys out there, you just said, hey, our plan is this. And so I appreciate that. I mean, it was, I appreciate and you were just, no notes, you were just, you've got it all up there too. And so thank you for the presentation. I think you did a great job, and I appreciate you just taking ownership and working with staff, and it sounds like you collaborated very, very well. Thank you.
Very much so. I wanted to also add on to the first question. In terms of utility for the urban water management plan, it's a great resource for anyone, any member of the community who's interested and wants to just understand the district a little bit more. But all of that information is also rolled up at DWR. So California Department of Water Resources, who mandates the development of these plans, they take all of this demand and supply information and they actually use it in the California water plan. So they roll up all of the retail agency urban water management plans from all over the state. And they say, look, here's the amount of demand that we have statewide. Here's the different kinds of supplies that we're using. And they bucket them into imported surface, groundwater, desal. But it's a way that the state also really uses this data to help communicate, to the public across the state, our water needs.
Well, it's really helpful for us as a board member when you get a question from somebody about anything related to housing and water supplies. A lot of times that's a big question for people, especially as new development comes in. And we already have been very well educated on kind of where the water comes from and all that. But the fact that systematically it's looked at in addition to just what we're doing is really just that extra added bonus. So I appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah, each development project, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Each development project that is over a certain threshold, I think it's 500 housing units, uses this urban water management plan to demonstrate that their growth was planned for and that there's adequate supply. So that's why DWR asks for the focus on annexations so that we can forecast out those new growth areas.
I just had a quick question. Thank you so much. I agree with Director Pennick. It was an excellent presentation. Very, very well done. Can I ask a really specific question about the consumption per capita, the
Yes.
gallons per day? So it went down a lot, and I was just curious, like, what our benchmark was. So our mandate from the legislature was to go down 20%. Do you know what the original consumption was, like back in 2016?
I don't recall, but it's based on a certain amount of year average, correct? And you pick a
10-year.
time, so yeah, 10-year average from prior to that, you pick that 10-year average, and then it's 20, and then that number's 20% below that. So I don't recall the amounts back then. Back then, I probably would have remembered.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting just to see that the consumption has gone down so much. So that was all I had.
And although consumption has gone down, growth has occurred.
Right.
So typically, almost every water agency locally has sort of flatlined, where even though they're growing, the plumbing code changes over time is keeping that demand forecast flat.
Right. Thank you. Do we have an action item for this?
There's a staff recommendation.
The staff recommendation is to approve the?
To adopt.
Oh, to adopt, okay. I will make a motion to adopt the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan.
Second.
Second by Director Elithart. Please vote. Motion passes. Thank you.
It's been a long time coming, huh?
Thank you, guys.
Okay, moving on to position reclassifications and salary adjustments.
Yes, so unfortunately, I only have half the A team here today with Chris Tapia, our public utility billing manager, but Denise, who is going to be doing this presentation, wasn't feeling well, and went home. So the board will have to listen to me kind of suffer, or not suffer, but kind of trudge through it and put my Denise hat on the best I can. So for today, we're looking at two position reclassifications. The first position is in the purchasing area, working under Chris Tapia, our purchasing utility billing manager. Our senior purchasing specialist retired, and after hiring our purchasing utility billing manager, it was decided that the reclass of the senior purchasing specialist to a purchasing specialist was necessary. Some of the higher level duties that was being done by the senior purchasing specialist is going to be retained by the manager, so a reclass was in order for that. The goal is to attract the candidates and align the duties, titles, and pay with the current job and with the current needs of the district. The second position that's in front of the board today is for our customer service area. One of our customer service representative threes has retired, and in preparation for recruitment, we noticed that there was a salary differential inconsistency. So when we have usually a 1, 2, and a 3, there's usually a salary gap between the two. When we looked at between the 2s and the 3s across the district, the salary gap ranged roughly between 10 and 15%. However, in customer service, the salary gap was only 5%. So human resources looked at that, checked it against our, what we call our internal equity between other departments in the gap, checked the scope of work, did a quick check of some of our other agencies in the area, and verified that yes, that salary gap between the two classification, the 3, was not broad enough. So with that, it's being recommended to increase the salary of the customer service representative 3 by 7.5%, which will give it a 12.5% salary gap between the 2 and the 3, which puts it right in the middle of that 10 to 15%. The fiscal impact on the purchasing side is roughly about a $10,000 savings, and the increase in salary for the customer service side will be roughly about $8,000 in increase. So total, you'll have roughly about a $2,000 salary differential. And if you guys have any questions on any of those positions and their duties, that's why Chris is here to answer it, because they both work under his group. This does support our strategic focus area 3, which is workforce excellence, and specifically 3.2 include employee recruitment and retention. And the recommendation is to approve the reclassification of the senior purchasing specialist to purchasing specialist within the salary range adjustment, approve the salary adjustment of the customer service 3 to the new range, and of course adopt the resolution number 1713 updating the district's salary schedule per CalPERS requirement. With that, both Chris and I are here to answer any questions.
Actually, I have a couple quick questions on each one. If you go up a little bit to those classifications. So the purchasing one, is that more centralized? I know we talked about it a little bit last board meeting. Are they just purchasing a certain department, or is it more centralized for, are they buying pencils and papers, or are they buying meters, are they buying pipe, what are they buying?
So the senior purchasing specialist was the senior purchasing specialist was a single incumbent role. They were responsible for reviewing and approving purchase orders for the entire district. And this purchasing specialist is also in charge. The scope of work isn't as broad. They don't have as much unilateral decision making because they're falling under the my supervision.
Gotcha.
And just to kind of add to that, yes, it will be centralized contracts, contract management, purchasing for the entire district. Different groups might have their own contract management groups that are more specialty, but generically, majority of the district contracts and purchasing will be going through that process.
Gotcha. So if I'm an employee, I'm putting pipe in, I go to Eric and I say, hey, I need so many feet of this pipe, and then you take it to.
There'll be a
this
purchase
purchasing-
order request, and then it goes through the
Goes
proper
down.
process.
Gotcha, okay, thank you for that. And then the customer service 1, 2, and 3, I mean, what are the difference? Is it just seniority, or do they have certain?
And I'm not here to, I don't know as well as HR, but 1, 2 is, I believe, there. So you could be a 1 and automatically become a 2, but the 3, it may be more, I believe, on the billing side and have like a little bit different scope and a little bit different job description. So the 3 is not an automatic. The 1 and 2 is linear, so you could start as 1, get experience, become a 2. But the 3 has a different scope. It's not an automatic. So and it works more on the billing side. Can you add to that or correct me if I'm
So,
wrong?
yeah, absolutely. Years ago, the district had a senior customer service representative, and when that position was vacated, it was reclassified to where the customer service department has 2 3s. And the 3s do take on a higher scope of work, which primarily involves billing. And billing is time sensitive and very important function of the district, and the 3s, their primary focus is there, but they do backfill in the scope of the 1s and the 2s as needed.
No, thank you for the explanation.
Any more questions? Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, motion by Director Hernandez, second by Director Pennick. Please vote. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, the next action item is request approval of emergency repair of 8-inch water main on Las Posas and La Mirada.
Yeah, so in this case, we have the A-team here for that from our operations department, both our director of operations and our mechanical maintenance manager. So with that, I'll hand it over to you guys. Was there
Pull up the memo.
pull up the memo, sorry. I kept on stalling.
Okay.
Do you want just the board packet up?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have it on there. Just a second, that was just the staff report, just for that.
So, while we're pulling up the memo, the board may recall that it was sometimes as we have emergency breaks, I make an announcement to let the board know that there's an emergency break, that under general manager authorities to keep basically people in water as quick as possible or our infrastructure safe, we authorize getting outside contractors. When that project is done and we get the final billing, everything's finished, we're obligated to bring it back to the board to present on it. And so these next 2 items really basically fall into that category. So, all right.
Put it up there.
You just scroll down.
Alrighty, thank you, General Manager. Good evening, directors and members of the public. Tonight I will be presenting on the emergency repair of an 8-inch water main in Las Posas Road. On February 6th,
This one is, hold on. 3.2 should be repair of 8-inch, so it's the next one up, just scroll up. There it is. There you go.
alrighty, on February 6th, 2026, staff responded to a reported water leak at South Las Posas Road and La Mirada Drive. The leak was identified on an 8-inch steel main that was installed in 1978 that serves the downtown corridor. Staff isolated the water main to stop the leak, temporarily interrupting water service to several local businesses. The leak was located in a major intersection with heavy traffic impacts. The damaged pipeline was beneath and adjacent to several major utilities, including a 60-inch storm drain, a 24-inch water transmission line, and an electrical infrastructure, making the excavation especially difficult and requiring specialized shoring and traffic control to access the damaged water main. Due to the complexity and urgency of the repair, staff retained CAS Construction under the district's Emergency Purchasing Authority. CAS had previously completed several emergency repairs for the district and could mobilize immediately. Once excavated, staff determined the leak originated at a 45-degree vertical bend as the water main dove beneath the 60-inch storm drain. The likely cause was internal corrosion, where the cement lining was absent inside the fitting due to the pipe's age of approximately 48 years. CAS replaced the failed bend, recoated and relined the repaired section, backfilled the excavation, and restored the roadway. District staff handled shutdown coordination, inspection, and construction management. Water service was restored next day at 2 p.m. with CAS completing all necessary roadway restoration in approximately 3 days. Following completion of the emergency repair, there was some additional time associated with invoice submittal, reconciliation, and staff review before bringing the finalized repair cost to the board. Contractor cost was approximately $121,093, with about $35,681 of that amount related to asphalt restoration and roadway remediation alone. Total district cost, including staff overhead and equipment, was approximately $148,293. Staff recommends the Board of Directors approve payment to CAS Construction in the amount of $121,092.77. I'll take any questions the board may have.
Any questions?
Sorry, I don't know why I have so many questions tonight, but.
That's all right.
No, appreciate it. So when we get those bills, is there a line item? This, how much is for insurance, this is for the digging, this is for the pipe? Do we get those line items from CAS? Or do we just get a total bill?
No, it's time and materials, so everything's laid out, hours of labor, hours of this equipment, how many this equipment's running. They have their billing rates, and their billing rates have built in their overhead, their profit, all that stuff, but everything is an hourly rate, it's checked.
Yeah, that's correct. The contractors submit daily reports, which are inspectors who handle the contractors. When we call them in, they review and verify all of their daily reports, and those daily reports consist of vehicles on site, staff on site, how many hours they were there, materials that were used, any dirt or sand that was brought in, pavement, stuff like that. And after once review is complete, then the inspection staff, they tell us, hey, we reviewed it all, it's good to go, and then we reach out to CAS area, let them know that, hey, we're moving forward with it and taking it to board.
And
Pretty detailed line items there.
Correct.
And during the pandemic, you'll notice that there's usually a delay between when the repair happened and when this comes to the board, because that's what's going on in that period. We're waiting for the billing, we're checking the billing, there may be some back and forth questions before it gets all resolved, before it brings it to the board.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Oliver?
Yeah, I'll move staff's recommendation.
I will second. Please vote. Try again. There you go. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. Next one is emergency repair of 12-inch water main on Radiance Way and San Marcos Boulevard.
I'm just gonna hand it right over to the team on this one.
Yes.
Oh, we'll put it up. There you go.
All righty, thank you, General Manager. Good evening, directors and members of the public. This next presentation will be on the emergency repair of a 12-inch water main in Radiance Way. On December 29th, 2025, staff responded to a reported water leak at Radiance Way and West San Marcos Boulevard. The leak was identified on a 12-inch PVC water main installed in 2019, serving the Ayers Hotel and Skyline condominium community. Staff isolated the water main to stop the leak, temporarily interrupting water service to both the hotel and condominium community. Staff coordinated a temporary water supply to the Ayers Hotel via a high line to their meter, and bottled water was also delivered to the Skyline condominium community to maintain basic water needs during the outage. The failure created a sinkhole and immediate public safety concern within West San Marcos Boulevard and Radiance Way. The roadway was undermined and required detouring of northbound traffic onto Radiance Way. The repair was further complicated by holiday staffing limitations and the need for immediate response to stabilize the roadway and restore service. Due to the urgency and need for rapid mobilization, Staff retained Southland Paving under the district's emergency purchasing authority. Southland had prior successful emergency experience with the district and the capability to perform both pipeline and roadway restoration work. Once excavated, staff determined the failure originated at a horizontal bend where a gasket had become displaced. The likely contributing cause was insufficient restraint at the horizontal bend, allowing joint separation under pressure. During excavation, staff also identified a void beneath the roadway, indicating a potential future failure point requiring immediate correction. Southland replaced a 45-degree vertical bend, a short section of 12-inch PVC pipe, and installed new restraint systems. The subsurface void was filled with 2-sack slurry backfill, and the roadway was fully restored. District staff handled shutdown coordination, inspection, and construction management, and water service was restored same day at 6:30 p.m., with Southland completing all necessary roadway restoration in approximately 5 days. Following completion of the emergency repair, there was some additional time associated with invoice submittal, reconciliation, and staff review before bringing the finalized repair cost to the board. Contractor cost was approximately $101,224, with about $46,798 of that amount related to asphalt restoration and roadway remediation alone. Total district cost, including staff overhead and equipment, was approximately $129,155. Staff recommends the Board of Directors approve payment to Southland Paving in the amount of $101,223.31. I'll take any questions the board may have.
So I have a question. So that's unfortunate that it was such a new pipe and sounds like the restraint system wasn't installed correctly. So how do we prevent that from happening in the future? Was it like a lack of oversight on the contractor that was doing the work initially? I mean, do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, it's one of those things that it could have been missed. It could have been called out in the plans and not done. There was a concrete thrust block on the joint. They may have thought that that provided sufficient restraint. In this case, it did not. But when the contractor reinstalled it, they did add a new restraint system for that. So it won't happen again there. Yeah.
Okay.
Question.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
So this took place in December. Here we are in May, so they've been waiting 5 months for us to get to this?
There's been a lot of back and forth on this particular one.
What's it tourmaling? Is 90 days tradition or less than that?
Since in my time here, historically, I would say that contractors typically give us their payment around 60 days, 60 to 90 days, depending on how big the job was. As Chris, or mechanical maintenance manager Chris Mueller said, this one had a lot of back and forth going with the contractor. With a lot of questions were raised on specific line items on their daily reports, and which eventually brought the cost down a little bit.
And you worked through that, obviously, and I'm familiar with Southland, so they've done work for me for years. So
Correct. They do great work.
oh, good. Thank you. With that, I'll move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Director Hernandez, second by Director Round. Please vote. Motion passes. Thank you.
Good job.
All right. The second review of the Vallecitos Water District draft fiscal year 26-27 annual budget.
Yeah, so this is going to be our second workshop for our budget, with hopefully the next board meeting being the final presentation for it. And with that, I think we're going to have a trio of presenters, starting with our finance supervisor, Jody Roberts. So Jody, if you're ready, I'll hand it to you.
Okay. Good evening, President KERSCHBAUM and members of the board. The good news is tonight's presentation is nearly identical to the one around this time last year. The bad news is tonight's presentation is nearly identical to the one around this time last year.
Move to approve.
It's just a note and file.
So tonight's presentation contains many important returning favorites. I will recap the budget process and the budget calendar, discuss the operating expenses for both water and wastewater, and summarize salary and benefit projections. Next, Mike will go over water sales, purchases, and sewer revenue. And then Wes will present the capital budget, reserve balances, and rating criteria. We'll close the presentation discussing the next steps of the budget process and answer any final questions you may have about the 26-27 proposed budget. A quick review of the budget process and calendar information. We begin the budget process internally around January every year. Certain internal processes listed on the left were completed along the way. Starting in February, we had 3 Finance Committee meetings in February, March, and April, prior to the last full board meeting on May 6th. And we will incorporate any board requested items from tonight's meeting, continue to revise and refine the budget document, and then it will be brought to the full board for approval in June on June 3rd. The next item on the agenda, operating expenses. This information is shown on page 2 of the budget document. The overall proposed budget total is $123 million. The top 3 sections of debt service, vehicles and equipment, and capital costs are reserve funded and will be discussed later in the presentation by Wes. The remaining costs are funded by operations, and we'll start by focusing on water operations of $17.2 million. When you add the $17.2 million to water purchase costs of $48.5 million, the total water operating expense budget is $65.7 million. This pie chart highlights the 74% of the water budget, which is water purchase costs. And so as you know, if the cost of water increases significantly, it becomes very challenging not to raise our rates as a result. The source of this information comes from page 11 of the budget document. When you compare budget to budget, water expenses are proposed to increase by $4.5 million, primarily due to the estimated increase in water purchases of $3.2 million. The next category of costs we will look at is the wastewater operating costs of approximately $20.5 million, or 17% of the total proposed budget. Page 20 of the budget shows this wastewater budget chart. 48% of this budget, or $9.7 million, is for ENCINA and Meadowlark plant treatment costs, which are mostly uncontrollable costs. This information comes from page 21 of the budget document. When you compare budget to budget, wastewater expenses are proposed to increase by $1.6 million compared to the prior year, primarily due to estimated increases in treatment and support costs. For treatment, the $500,000 increase is primarily due to an increase in ENCINA costs based on their 26-27 budget draft. And then for support, the $500,000 increase is primarily within the engineering and IT departments for outside services and labor costs. This is a historical summary of controllable costs. It shows that the district tries to hold the line on controllable costs. And it should be noted, wastewater operations excludes wastewater treatment costs. The 5-year average increase in controllable costs is about 6.4%, and the 10-year average is a low 4.8%. Moving on to salary and benefits, total salaries are projected to increase by 4.5%, or $608,000, due to COLA and step increases. Benefits are projected to increase by $519,000, primarily due to the increase in PEREZ unfunded accrued liability costs of about $388,000. So overall, projected increase to salary and benefits is $1.1 million, or 5.5%. Also, there is an increase in FTEs of 1.5 due to the addition of 2 full-time positions and 1 part-time position. Continuing with salary and benefit costs, this slide shows the budget to actual comparison over the years. There have been budget to actual savings of up to 12.2% that have occurred over the past several years, primarily due to retirements and as a result of vacant positions being reanalyzed as they become available. And then this survey of neighboring districts shows the number of employees per 1,000 connections, and it has been updated. So the range is from a high of 5.6 employees per 1,000 connections to 2.5 employees per 1,000 connections. Vallecitos comes in at the very bottom with 2.48 employees per 1,000 connections. On this slide, the bars show the decrease in FTEs over the years compared to the red line that shows the increase in number of connections. So although our number of authorized employees decreased from 115.25 to 108.5, our number of connections has grown from 41,908 to over 43,000, equating to 2.75 employees per 1,000 connections in 15-16 to 2.5 employees per 1,000 connections in 25-26. So by implementing various efficiencies, we are continuing to manage more workload with less staff. And with that, I will hand it over to Mike, who will discuss the proposed water purchases budget of $48.5 million.
I should have said leaving off and batting second. Missed out on that option.
Thank you, Jody. Director Kirschbaum, member of the board. So as you know, I usually start off with something funny or witty, and I assure you I had something hilarious today, but it didn't make the first round of budget cuts.
Oh, that was good.
Everyone's still here. Yeah. Okay, so Jody was mentioning how the majority of our water budget is the purchased water, 74% I believe it is right now. Just a historical perspective of over the years, that it was about 71% about 5-6 years ago, and it's planned to go up to about a little over 3/4 of our budget. So as Jody mentioned, as the purchased water cost of purchased water goes up, it can't help but affect our rates to the customers. And I have a slide on that a little bit. So I believe, Director Kirschbaum, you're on the Water Authority board. So right now there is talk about their rates, but there is nothing concrete. And as I mentioned last time, I have to be a little conservative and use what the last published numbers were. So right now, the last published numbers were about 12%. I know that they're talking about coming in 4%, 6%. I know there's one agency pushing for 0%, and which is kind of ironic because that agency, which is the district I live in, is passing on like 39% to me. So it's kind of ironic that they want to go at 0%. So SDG&E increases are projected to be around 10%. That's another relatively uncontrollable cost. For sales volume, we're projecting about a 2 to 4% increase for next year. It was rather rainy earlier this year, so our sales are a little bit flat for this year, but they have been picking up the last couple of months. So the increase in of the 2 to 4% is basically increase in customers, but also offset, as you heard earlier, some of the conservation methods that are going on. So that gets tempered down a little bit. So some of the potential results, and again, we're not here to adopt rates, but I need to let you know what this could potentially mean down the line when we come back. We'll come back probably sometime in October, November for rates for January of 2027. So I want to kind of give you a sneak peek of what that may look like. Again, this will change as the Water Authority solidifies their number to us.
Yeah, and if I could just add, so the budget that's before you, the draft budget, and the budget for hopefully for adoption that's going to be before you at the next board meeting, the Water Authority rate assumptions in there will not affect our customers because the rate discussion will happen in the fall when we actually know the numbers. So what's in the budget is not going to affect our customers, the assumption. It'll be based on the actual when we know it, and the board will get that probably in the fall this year.
Correct. So right now, with that 12.5% that I have baked in there at the moment, the rate increase would be about 9 to 12%. If they come in at around 4 to 6%, the rate increase would be adjusted accordingly. And then, as General Manager Compel mentioned, we would be using actual numbers. The pump zone rates that we'll set again in October, November will be just the pass-through of SDG&E. So right now, they're projected at 10%. So the water sales and purchases so far this year, projecting about $35 million in commodity, $18 million in the ready to serve, and our water purchase of about $41 million. So I mentioned 2 weeks ago, this current fiscal year that we're in, at least the first half, the Water Authority offered a prepayment incentive to agencies, and we were one of, I believe, only 2, maybe 3 agencies that took advantage of that, and we saw a 4% savings in our fixed costs of to them, which is about $250,000. They're not offering that program going forward, so that incentive is no longer available. So for next year, with that increase of the 2 to 4% in demand and rate increases coming in, preliminarily, the water sales of about $42 million, the rate to serve of about $20 million, and water purchases of $49 million. And again, we'll know more probably after our budget's actually adopted. I don't think we'll have solid numbers from the Water Authority.
Did they say why they're not offering that again?
It was, back then, it was a cash flow issue with them. And so I'm not sure if they settled their cash flow issues or not, or they realized that the 4% upfront savings was actually costing them more than they were realizing.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Which is really, my analysis showed that they were actually losing out by offering that incentive. So good for us for at least a year. So with the urban water management presentation we saw earlier, she went into the different sources of water that we have. So this mirrors what she showed earlier today. It's the desal water is our first supply of water, 3,500 acre feet per year, followed by the exchange that we have with OMWD, 2,750. And then the remaining water, whatever that delta is made up from the CWA water that we purchase. And there are different costs. Obviously, the desal water is almost twice as expensive at $4,300, but it is that drought-proof and resilient water supply. And the commodity costs, fixed commodity costs of about $40 million. Last year, the Water Authority, well, pretty much every year, they do a lot of adjustments in their cost allocations. So they will swap some of the commodity costs and put more on fixed, and that's where they're trying to go towards. So the numbers themselves may switch between buckets from commodity to fixed, but again, we'll get those real numbers after the budget's actually adopted, but before we go to propose new rates. So you
Hey,
will.
Mike, I have a real quick question on
Yeah.
this. So the additional desal at $22.77 per acre foot, that just is like, we're buying additional desal through County Water Authority? Is that how that works? And then they're setting the rate?
Well, this is an agreement that we had about 3 years ago that they did not supply us any desal water, so there was a.
Yeah, so the Water Authority didn't supply us any desal water for, it was over 12 months, and we were not aware of it, but we were getting charged it. We have a certain amount, I forgot, like 10 years.
10 years.
And they're gonna sell us the desal water that we should have gotten. Instead of paying the desal rate, we're just paying the regular commodity rate for Water Authority.
Oh, okay. And that's 10 years?
I don't remember if it's 10 years, but it's some period around that long. Yeah, I believe it's 10. I'm going off
Wow.
memory.
That worked out pretty well for us.
I think we're into it 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And there's no limit, like we could just buy, like if for some reason we all of a sudden needed a whole bunch of water, we could buy as much as we wanted in additional desal at that
Yeah,
price?
until we hit the limit where we're caught up. So at the end of the day.
There was a total amount, and I don't know the amount.
I see what you're saying, okay.
I'm gonna just guess, and because it's 460 acre feet per year over 10 years, let's just say it was 4,600 acre feet. I'm not positive on that number, but they have a limit, so once we hit that limit, then they're considered that we're whole at that point.
I see, okay, thank you.
Question? On our desal rate, do we have a contract review coming up on that? About how much we have to take or pay anyway?
No, it's, there was a 10-year timeline which we're at for us to consider doubling our desal take, but it did not allow us to reduce our desal take. So we elected not to double our desal take at $4,300 an acre feet. And then I believe in another 10 years, now it's less than 10 years, it might be more like 8 or 9, we at that point can look at our desal take and make a decision.
To adjust it one way or the other?
Yep. So, but we're still, can't remember the original date of that. We're still, 8, 9 years away.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
It's definitely a conversation we'll have with the board before we get there.
Yeah.
So overall for next fiscal year, we're projected to purchase about 14,525 acre feet of water. And again, at the preliminary rates, a total of about $49 million. So the one thing I did not show 2 weeks ago was the sensitivity analysis. So if it's really rainy and people aren't buying as much water, if it's really hot, people are buying more water, what does that mean to our overall budget and our overall reserves? So what this shows is the top line, the demand, that there's a drop in demand of 10%. This would affect our net reserves, basically the revenues less our expenses that we would save for not having to buy more water, but also we'd lose revenue for not selling more water, would be about a $1.7 million hit to our reserves. Conversely, if we're selling 10% more than that 14,525 acre feet that I mentioned in the previous slide, it would actually be a positive gain to our net reserves of about $1.9 million. So we just try to bookend it and show what would happen plus or minus. And then for the sewer is a little bit more straightforward. We haven't had a rate increase for maybe 10 years, 9-10 years. And there's not one planned in this current fiscal year. However, I kind of like to prep you that next year, or this next fiscal year, we'll probably be doing a cost of service study for sewer. So there may be rate changes at that time. But right now, so sewer for the current fiscal year and next fiscal year are basically in line of about $19.5 million. The reclaimed water sales, we have a new agreement that we hopefully is going to start in January 27, I believe. Fingers crossed, that it's going to be a cost recovery for that. So we would anticipate having higher reclaimed water sales. So a total of this year is about 22 million, next year of about 23 and a little more than $500,000. And I did have a footnote on there that the reclaimed sales will be down this year due to the plant being closed. And I believe that is my last slide, so if there's not any questions, I will pass it on to Wes.
No more jokes? Good job.
No, I dried up.
Oh,
It's a drought year.
All right. Good evening, President KERSCHBAUM, members of the board. I went last tonight because I don't have any jokes. I let these guys go first so you get the entertainment there. This is supposed to be a serious presentation, right? We're not supposed to be laughing anyway. This is the budget. So the next portion of the budget presentation is the capital portion. And you can see on the pie chart on page 2 that the capital is budgeted for fiscal year 2027. And it's also important to note that this is the only year that you'll be approving or considering for approval at the next meeting, and that's the $30.6 million in capital. However, we do a 5-year and a 10-year plan, and the 10-year total capital budget is $221 million. So we're going to take a look at that and see how that rolls into our reserve forecasting and financial plan. So this next slide is a summary of pages 35 and 120 of the budget. And at the right here, you can see the total 10-year budget for CIP is $220.6 million. And that's made up of $128.2 million in carryover projects. And those are projects that were budgeted for in previous years but have not been completed. Then new CIP requests. Those are new requests for both the carryover projects, so any increases or decreases, obviously increases here, well, decreases, and new requested projects. And then finally, the future CIP requests. Those are projects that will not be worked on in 2027, but will be in the future, so we included them for financial planning purposes. So then the bottom portion shows the vehicles and equipment, which is budgeted at $780,000 for fiscal year 27, and the total capital in vehicles and equipment, including vehicles and equipment, is $221.3 million. That is an increase of $6.4 million when compared to last year's budget, and some of the variances that make that up or worth discussing. There was a decrease in new CIP requests. We just actually have less new requests this year, less projects and less money. But then there's an increase in the future CIP requests, and that's mainly due to one project, the San Marcos Boulevard West project is actually increasing from $6.5 million to $13 million in the future requests. So next, this is our CIP improvement program for the next 5 years, broken down by water and sewer. And we can see 2027, which is the year being proposed for approval next meeting. That total there is $30.6 million, which is made up of $9.7 million for water and $20.9 for sewer. So you can see we have a lot more sewer projects than we do water. And of that 20.9, 3.5 is for ENCINA for fiscal year 27. And looking at our 5-year to 10-year plan, the total budget is $220.6 million. That's made up of $41.5 million in water projects and $179.1 for sewer. So again, a lot more sewer projects. That sewer total, the 179.1, is made up of 156.5 for BLVD and 22.6 for ENCINA. This one looks exciting, doesn't it? Now, I know this is a lot of numbers and probably not as exciting for you as it is for me, but this is an important slide, and I believe it to be important because this is what the rating agencies look at. This is a summary of our 5-year reserve plan. So this is what the rating agencies are going to look at and say, are you maintaining sufficient reserve levels? Are you covering your debt service coverage? Do you have the appropriate days in cash? This is what we're going to be submitting to them so they determine if we are going to keep our AAA rating. So just walking you through it quickly, you can see our beginning reserve balance, the amount of cash investments that we have at the beginning of fiscal year 27 is $111.8 million. After that, you have any excess of operations. So what this is really is we've gone through the materials and services, we've gone through the labor, we've gone through the water purchases and sales, we've gone through the CIP. All of it rolls up into this here and says, okay, here's your cash, how's it coming in and how's it going out, and are you going to have sufficient balances for the future? So we started at $111.8 million. Then you have your excess of revenues over expenses for operating costs that are transferred into reserves. If it's less, then you'd have a reduction of reserves. But here we have $2.3 million. Then you have your other non-operating revenues, your capital facility fees, property taxes, RDA pass-through revenues. If you had debt proceeds, they'd be here. Project reimbursements and investment earnings. So all of that goes into your reserve balances, and it's used to fund your capital outlay, your CIP costs, which is $30.6 million shown here. Then you have your vehicles and equipment. For us, we're actually funding our PEREZ unfunded accrued liability. We're making an additional discretionary payment this year, or being proposed, of $425,000, and our debt service costs of $5.4 million. So those are the total costs, and at the end of the year, we're projected to have $102.6 million in total reserve balances. After that, you deduct your operating reserves, and you check to see that it's within your floor and your ceiling based on your policy. And if it is, then you're in good shape. Otherwise, you need to make some adjustments. So that's what the rating agencies are going to look at. What's your plan? Do you have a plan for 5, 10 years plus? Are you within policy limits? Do you have a sound policy, and are you following it? Other things they're going to look at are your debt service coverage ratio. Our bond covenants for all of our bonds, or at least 2 of them, say that we have to maintain 115% debt service coverage ratio. You can see down here we have a 452% debt service coverage ratio, so we're well above that, so we're covered there. And then we have days in cash, which is basically just our cost of operating for a day divided by our cash, so you get the total days in cash of operations, and we have 428 days here. And that, over the next 5 years, is 402, 354, 335, and 337. So we'll talk more about the days in cash later, but those are our financial plan balances for both debt service coverage and days in cash.
Quick question before you go off the slide.
Yep.
Just the big increase in operating transfers, that's just, seems like everything else is pretty
a lot of that
similar, but that one's jumping up 8 mil, so what happened there?
So the operating increases are, the majority of it's going to be sewer, because we really have more transfer for sewer, planning for paying for sewer projects. So you're going to see, hopefully, over the next few years, we're going to have to build in rate increases to meet those sewer projects that we have to do. We had like $156 million in sewer projects coming up over the next 10 years. So we have to plan for those and start to fund those. So the majority of that, this is a combination of both water and sewer here. The majority of it's going to be sewer, but we also have to have a component funding reserves for water replacement projects as well.
I have a quick question too. So, sorry, the debt service coverage, is that the operating reserves over the debt service?
It's actually your operating revenues over your cost of debt to see if you can pay, and it does include things like capacity fees. So there are different ways to calculate it, but overall we're allowed to include capacity fees, property taxes, RDA revenues, and then you take your cost of debt and divide it by that. So it's your revenue over your debt coverage, over your debt payment, and that gives you your debt service coverage ratio.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
You'll see in the budget we calculated 3 different ways. One is without capacity fees, one is without property taxes and RDA, but per our covenants we're allowed to use all 3.
Okay.
Okay, the next slide is total reserve balances, both historical and projected for the next 2 years. This is just to give you an idea of how we've kind of planned for future expenditures and the balances in our reserves. And you can see we've been, I don't want to say building up, but we've been planning for future expenditures. So in order to do that, you have to build your reserves when you know you have significant expenditures coming up. One thing worth noting is in 21-22, you'll see a pretty big jump in reserves. That's about $12 million for sewer and $11 million for water. So those resulted from the debt issuance we had in 2021. We had a direct cash infusion. We were able to infuse cash for previous projects for the 3 years prior to that. So that increased our cash balances. But also important is in the projected balances, you'll see them decreasing because we got the sewer projects coming and all the water projects, especially in the next few years and going forward. So you'll see our balances decline, especially when we do the charts in the next slide. So we planned for it and now we're funding it. So the next slide is the replacement reserves for water. These are the reserves that are funded by water rates. And we've already talked about the floor and the ceiling, so I won't go through that again, but we can see the balances in the draft proposed budget are here. And for 2027, it's projected to be $31 million, which is above the floor of 26 and below the ceiling. And then 2031, that balance is projected to be $34 million, which again is above the floor of 30 and below the ceiling, so within policy limits. But it is important to note that in 2028, now I'll go back and say, remember we're only proposing for approval 1 year in 2027. But in 2028, if everything goes according to our financial plan, all the projects are done on time at the amounts that we estimated, there may be a need to issue debt in 2028 for water rates of approximately $6 million. We have $8.7 million in water replacement projects in fiscal year 27, and we have $11.7 million in projects for fiscal year 28. So those approximately $20 million in projects is going to create the potential need for a debt issuance in 2028. And we'll revisit it next year again during the budget process. So at this time, it's not really a concern, it's just a financial plan. Moving on to sewer replacement reserves, and these are the reserves that are funded by sewer rates, the floor and the ceiling, and we can see the balances here. The balance in sewer reserves, replacement reserves, is projected to be $52 million in 2027 and $52 million in 2031. Both of those are above the floor, but really close to it. So you can see we've really, although our reserves have gone up, they're coming back down in line with the floor as planned, we'll say. But then again in 2028, we have about $33 million in projects in the next 2 years for sewer replacement, and that's going to potentially make the need for about $5 million for sewer debt to be issued. The next slide is a new one. I know you've seen a lot of the other slides, but this is a new slide, days in cash. You saw it last year, but it's new this year. And this is one that we take a look at, see if we're able to maintain our AAA credit rating. And you'll notice the orange line is the Fitch median for AAA rated agencies. I do have to update this for this current year. Last year it was 686. It's probably gone up, but I'll get that information. I'm still waiting on a response. But ours is below that at 428 days in cash, projected for fiscal year 2027. Not something to be concerned about based on previous discussions with Fitch because of our other, I'll call it excellent criteria, related to them issuing us a AAA rating. So as long as we keep it somewhere around between 300 and 350 days in cash, we should be able to maintain our AAA credit rating. And with this financial plan, we are there. So it's also important to note that our days in cash did go over the median in 2021 and 22 and 23, 713 and 711. And that's the same thing I mentioned before with the debt issuance. We had that cash infusion, which just gave us, $28 million in cash that we had come in that we were able, and it raised our days in cash. And next, I want to talk about our rating profile. In 2013, we were upgraded to a AA+ rating, and then we were able to maintain that until 2024, when we got a AAA rating. So we were upgraded to AAA, and we've had several surveys over the years, 8 full surveys as of last year, and when they don't do a full survey, they do a general survey, which is just getting information, reviewing it, sending us basically saying you're still stable. And this year we did have one, and our outlook is stable on our AAA rating, so everything is looking good. Next is our debt service by issue. So we have 3 outstanding debt issuances currently. 2008 loan, that is a bank loan which is based on a variable rate. It's currently based on SOFR, which was transferred over from LIBOR 2 years ago, I believe. And that is about 3.05% currently. It's based on a 6-month, so it varies every 6 months. We get to select the rate that they do I think it's a 3, 6, or 9-month rate, and they ask us which one we want to elect, and we're at 3.05%. That will be paid off by 2028. I think the balance now is $800,000. So by 2028, let's see, our debt service right now is $5.4 million. By 2028, it'll be down to $4.9 million, and then 2037, it's going to be $1.2 million. The other 2 debt issuances are the Series 2015, which is a revenue refunding bond. That one is actually callable right now, but it doesn't appear that the market is favorable for us to call it yet. We are keeping our eye on that, though. And then the other one is the 2021 ACOPS. In the 2015, so they get all the information in there, is a 5% interest currently. It's fixed for the life of the bonds. And the 2021A was issued in 2021 at 2.24% all-in cost. So we got an excellent rate on that. And we're able to structure our debt, so we really didn't feel the impact of that because our first principal payment doesn't come due until, I think it's 2031. So that's our debt service profile. And if we don't issue any more debt, this is what it'll look like. So we'll see how that goes. And currently, it's important to note, too, that this is all related to growth. This is all capacity debt, so it's all being funded by developers right now. We don't have any debt for rates right now. The next steps in the budget process. I know this is the exciting part because it means it's getting close to being over. The next steps are we're going to incorporate any changes or questions from tonight that you may have into our recommended budget, which we will bring to you on June 3rd for adoption. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
I just have one question. You said with our sewer rates, we have not raised rates for 10 years, and we're not going to do it again this year. But we know that down the line, we're going to have a lot of expenses.
Mm.
Why is it that we're not gradually doing rate increases as opposed to like 5 years down the line, we say, okay, it's going to be a big one this year?
Yeah, and it's kind of been, I don't want to call it kicking the can, but you saw the historical reserve levels for water and sewer, and you saw that the sewer was pretty healthy, and it has been healthy. And what's been happening is we really haven't been completing some of the projects that we thought were going to happen. They've been kind of getting delayed, and as they get delayed, we're like, okay, we don't need to do rate increases again because we're transferring $6 million to reserves from operations every year. So there hasn't been a need for rate increases. But these projects are not projects that don't need to be done, they're just getting delayed.
Yeah.
So as they get delayed, we delay the rate increases and we delay the rate study, but they're gonna happen. So right now it's like we really want to get on that, get the cost of service study done and start planning for these rate increases as these projects can no longer be delayed.
So, but is it is the reasoning behind it because of the water rates going up and we don't want to,
Yeah, I can add to it, Director Brown. So if you look at the water use, especially indoor water use, as it's come down that you saw in the urban water management, that means the sewer, even though it has the same amount of actual sewer in it, the amount of water in the sewer, the amount of conveyance, the growth of the sewer system slowed down with it. That, we first saw it in the recession. We saw it again in COVID a little bit. We saw different reduction rates. ENCINA actually had a plant upset due to it a couple years ago where the sewer system was becoming septic because it was just taking so long with less water in the sewer. So a lot of it just delayed those needs for those projects. And as Wes already mentioned, our sewer reserves are really healthy. In the proposed budget is actually a cost of service study for our sewer to bring forth to the board next fiscal year. And then from there, we'll be going through committees and everything else and engaging Lupe to look at, what do we do with our sewer rates? Because we're looking at, instead of waiting and kicking the can down anymore, doing a nice rate ramp where we could have, moderate rate increases to keep up with our needs. So what ended up happening is some of the big projects, like the land outfall project, which is tens and tens of millions of dollars, those projects were originally planned, back before 2008, 9, 10, and all of a sudden we didn't have to build them because there was no pressure on them. But now there's pressure on them. We've actually had historic spills on them in the last several years, when the wet years, knock on wood. So, there's definitely a need for those projects now. So if you look at, as Wes pointed out, if you look at our CIP, it's very sewer heavy. A lot of those projects, some of them probably should have been built years ago if there wasn't that relief in the sewer system that just happened through, the world changing and people conserving more. So that delayed the need for rate increases.
Yeah, I just don't want to, well, I don't know. I'm still learning so much, but, it kind of makes me nervous, especially people think, oh, we don't have to pay so much for sewer, and then all of a sudden something changes and it's.
Well, we'll have the opportunity though to talk about rates though, like later this summer, so.
Yeah, it won't be, July, if the board approves the budget and with that item in it, it'll be funded. And then we have to start on that process. So really, nothing's going to happen in 2026 or 7 as far as adoption of rates. My anticipation is we adopt sewer rates, it'll probably be 2028.
January.
And then January 2028 for sewer would be about the earliest. And then there'll also be a lot of a run-up with, committees and board and presentations, as well as the public process required.
And real quick, just to add on that, when we do the cost of service study, we look at a 5 and 10 year horizon. And to get to your point, we're not going to do an 8% increase, 2% increase, 9% increase. We do want to make it pretty much 3, 4, 5%, whatever the numbers tell us. So it will be a smooth increase on that.
Thank you.
And
Sorry, that's a really good question because, and I know we're getting a little bit off topic here, so Luffy, stop me if I'm getting out of the agenda, but, I guess I thought that we were gonna be looking at sewer rates though, like sooner than 2028, so I think I probably share Director Brown's concern that we're not raising sewer rates sooner.
So it'll be, hopefully, at the board's will, it'll be funded, and then it'll actually take time to develop the cost of service study, push the actions forward. 2028 is a realistic timeline. If
Okay,
things
I
go
see.
faster, it could be maybe July 27, but realistically, 2028 is probably a realistic timeline.
Okay, that makes sense, thank you.
And not to beat a dead horse, but the reason, because you're saying we're planning to issue debt. I mean, it seems like if we plan
Well-
and we're filling, yeah, okay.
So
answer that.
the financial plan includes the potential need for issuing debt. I'm not planning.
I know, but when people say potential need may, it's,
Well-
what, are we talking 80-20, 90?
If I had to guess, and I'll guess, right, it's not gonna happen in 28. That would be my guess, and it's just an educated guess. It may happen in 29. There's a possibility, because last year we came forward with a 26 budget, and we said, oh, we may have to issue debt in 27.
Right.
It shifted, right? It moved to 28.
So and how those coincide, if we raise, like Director KERSCHBAUM said, if we raise the rates earlier so we can put more money in that
Yep.
fund
Yep.
to prepare for future projects, we might not have to issue debt.
Yeah, they'll get recalculated.
Okay, and that's, yeah, because the cost of money is, I know we've gotten lucky so far, you've got 2.5s and 5% and things, but cost of money is gonna be expensive, so if we can plan for that in the future, that's planning
Yeah.
not to issue debt instead of plan to issue debt.
Right.
And, the board, and this is, again, a conversation for later when we'll workshop this with sewer debt. especially if the cost of borrowing money is quite high and it's for user rates, that's gonna hit the users anyway. It's gonna hit sewer fees anyway. So that is something that we'd have to calculate and basically report back on. So.
Well, and if I could add, hopefully this will help with some of the concerns. At first, it may not sound like it, but we have certain assumptions that we built into the budget to do our 5-year plan, right? One of them is maybe we need to issue $5 million in debt for 2028, but also what potential rate increases do we need for sewer to maintain our levels above the floor? And currently, I think there's a 9% increase in 2028. That sounds like a lot, but your sewer bill is $38.99. 9% of that is less than $4, right? So you're talking about a $3 increase potentially on your sewer bill. That's what we have built in, and it doesn't go any higher than 8% over our 5-year plan. So you're really talking $2, $3 increases to sewer over our 5-year plan. It hopefully won't induce panic and is not anything that's, something that's,
But again, the cost of service study, we'll vet that out, and the board will have a chance to weigh in based on the financial plan and how it affects it after the cost of service study. We'll definitely have more concrete numbers.
Sounds good. Thanks. Any other questions, comments?
One quick question. So in a budget, do we not include like investment income? I've never.
We do. Yeah.
So did I miss that somewhere?
Yeah, I don't want to go back to the slide, but I can go back to my law of numbers slide if you want.
No, that's right. I mean, so it is in there somewhere.
It's in there and it's assumed at a certain interest rate. Like currently we're at 4% exactly. So we look at the future and basically I think it goes from 4% down to 3.4 over the 5-year period.
So I just missed, I mean, are you happy with what's happening there? Or?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're taking in about $4 million a year in interest.
Okay, so that was in there, I just missed it.
Yep.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure we included that. Thank you.
Is this an action item?
No, this item is
information only.
Yeah,
Information, okay.
only.
Good information.
Yes, thank you again, Dream Team.
And this is important too, watch.
Oh.
See,
They
that's
have
what.
parachutes on?
They did, they were skydiving, so.
See, you are funny. Okay. Okay, so moving on to reports, General Manager.
Yeah, first off, and just the way we kind of started the meeting, I didn't get a chance to introduce, and you guys already know Lutfi here. So obviously, Jim could not make it, since his apologies for not making it, but I think we benefited from that with Lutfi here. Couple items just very quick. We're going to be looking at trying to schedule, it's not on the quarterly schedule now, an engineering committee meeting for my 2 engineering committee members in early June. Kirsten will be reaching out to you for that. And just the first initial announcement, it looks like with the way the meetings are scheduled out, the July 1st meeting, we're looking at canceling that meeting unless there's any real objections from the board. Right now, there's nothing critical. We won't solidify that yet because it's a little too far away, but I just want to put that on everybody's radar. It is, the 4th holiday is not on the 1st, obviously, but we do have some people taking time off. So with that, unless there's something critical that the board needs, we're looking at the agenda, seeing if there's anything critical that comes up. And my initial thought is July 1st meeting will get canceled. I'll confirm that at our next board meeting on June 3rd. And I'll be on vacation from June 16th to the 20-something. And Jason will be taking over my duties for the June 17th meeting, and he will double down on confirming on July 1st on that. That's one of his many duties. So that's all I have for my report.
District Legal Counsel.
Sure, I'll be really brief. First off, really nice to see you all. Happy to be here. Since we are talking about the budget and rates, I just wanted to mention that there's Aqua-sponsored legislation, AB 2180, that has made its way through, I think through the Assembly Local Government Committee, and there's a hearing on it on June 3rd in the Senate Local Government Committee. This is legislation that is intended to codify a recent Court of Appeal decision called Dreher versus Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, which at the Court of Appeal confirmed many of the rate setting strategies and procedures that the district also uses. So that legislation would be really useful for the district. That case is going up to the Supreme Court, but in the meantime, the legislative effort would be useful. So If it's something that the district would like to consider at a future time, I'm happy to provide more information for an actual agenda item. I'm not sure if you've already signed on to it, so if that's something that you'd like me to do, I'm happy to do that.
Is there interest in the board to hear more as a future board item for this?
Yes.
Okay, sure, I'll put that together. And that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
And County Water Authority, we have our meeting next week, so I do not have a report today. ENCINA?
Yes, we had our capital committee meeting this morning, and we approved a number of contracts for one was for the sediment basin rehab, and one was for the heat dryer rehab, and then a construction management award contract for the CLEAR project. And then we have a new head of engineering coming up. Scott didn't want to give us the name this time. He said it's going to be official here in a week or so. And then we lost an engineer. So we got somebody, we're going to need some time for that. It took us 9 months to find the head of the engineering. So he says we'll be happily surprised. So I'm anxious to see who it's going to be. That's the end of my report.
All right, thank you. Any standing committees? No meetings. Any directors' reports on meetings, conferences, or seminars attended? Other business? Future agenda items? All right, if there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 6:56 p.m.